A few years ago, this story unfolded when I was living with my ex-boyfriend. We had moved into a two-bedroom house and were actively making it our own cozy space. One of the rooms was transformed into an office because the only bathroom was accessible through it. Since we often had friends staying over, we didn't want them to go through our bedroom to use the bathroom. About a month after our move, my ex was out with his coworkers, leaving me home alone. I spent the early evening watching TV and having some takeout. I heard strange noises a few times, but every attempt to figure out what it was ended with the noise stopping. As it got later, I decided to go upstairs and use the computer before going to bed. At that time, our phone lines were not set up, and I was using a pay-as-you-go phone with no more credit. This meant I couldn't talk to anyone while in the house. I sat in the back room with only a small table lamp emitting a weak light. As I typed on the laptop, I heard those strange noises again, starting as a quiet rattling sound. It was so faint that I had to listen carefully to make sure it wasn't just my imagination. I turned off the music and tried to figure out the source of the noise. I went into our bedroom and looked down at the front door, but there was no one there. Returning to the back bedroom, it was difficult to see much out of the window. Our yard was small, surrounded by a tall brick wall, and there was no light near the wooden gate. From what I could see, there was nothing in the backyard either, so I sat back down and turned the music back on. About 10 minutes later, I heard a screeching noise, like metal rubbing against metal. Once again, it was very faint, as if whatever was causing it was trying hard to remain quiet. At this point, I started feeling pretty scared. I left our bedroom to get a heavy iron rod that we had found in the back of the closet. I didn't turn on any lights because I didn't know what was happening and didn't want to reveal my location to anyone who might be in the house. Remember, I couldn't call anyone. I was getting increasingly worried that there might be someone in my house, so I went back into the office bedroom, closed the door quietly, locked it, and placed a chair under the handle. For about 20 minutes, nothing else happened, and I began to feel a bit silly for getting so worked up. I thought it might be because it was my first night alone in the house, but this time I didn't turn the music back on. A few minutes later, I started hearing sounds like two people whispering, and both voices were male. Fortunately, the voices didn't seem like they were inside the house. I had the office window open just a bit, and the sound seemed to be coming from there. I went into the bathroom to get a better look at the alley behind the house. The office bedroom and the bathroom formed an L shape around a yard, and the bathroom extended further out. I climbed up on the ledge, slowly opened the window to see into the alley, but couldn't see anything. However, the whispering was much louder right behind the gate. I couldn't hear the whole conversation, but I heard enough to understand that these guys had noticed when we moved in and saw that we had a lot of valuable stuff like guitars, computers, my DSLR camera, TV, gaming consoles, and more. They must have noticed that I was home alone and were waiting for me to go to sleep before trying to get into the house. I stayed on that ledge for what felt like a very long time until I heard a really loud thud. They seemed to have given up on being quiet and were now trying to force their way through the gate. I saw it shaking from their strong pushes, and I could only guess how big these guys were. I'm a small girl, about 5'3" tall, and weighed around 98 pounds at that time, so I was really scared watching the gate struggling to hold up. I held onto the iron rod, thinking about where I could hide from them. Then, all of a sudden, a bright light came from behind me. At first, I freaked out and hid, thinking they were using a flashlight on the back of the house. But then I heard dogs barking and people shouting. I took another look and saw that the house across the alley had a strong light, illuminating their yard. I heard some grumbling and swearing, and then two sets of footsteps hurried away down the alley. I stayed in the bathroom, locked in, until my ex-boyfriend came home drunk at 4 a.m. I couldn't sleep at all that night. When I went out into the yard the next morning, my gate was barely hanging on, making it easy for anyone to come in from the alley. When I checked the back of the gate, I saw the keyhole was all scratched up, like someone tried to break the lock. If they hadn't alerted the house behind us, I'm scared to think about what might have happened.